Welcome to the Chapter 1.3 Overview, Developments in South and Southeast Asia circa 1200 to 1400. Let's look at our essential question. How did various beliefs and practices in South and Southeast Asia affect society and the development of states? Again, I'm looking for key words in the question, and I'm zeroing in on this word right here, affect, which indicates that it is a causation question. But if you look at my diagram over here, causation, remember, includes cause or effect. And here, I think it's just effects. We don't really have causes. So we're looking at beliefs and practices in South and Southeast Asia. That's the information we'll cover. And we're looking for their effects or impact on society and also their impact on the development of states. The news often features periodic escalations of tension between India and Pakistan over Kashmir. These two countries have been in conflict since their founding, following independence from Britain in 1948. Due to the manner in which Islam spread to South Asia, Pakistan is mostly Muslim, and India is mostly Hindu. The two faiths are so different that they have a difficult history, as we will see in this chapter. For context, let's remember that the Hindu and Buddhist faiths both originated in India, and that Islam originated on the Arabian Peninsula before spreading rapidly, as shown on the map. So, this map of Afro-Eurasia, Islam begins on the Arabian Peninsula right here, and spreads as shown on the map, and we've looked in a previous chapter about Islam in North Africa and in Europe. So in this one, we'll turn our attention to the east here and look at India. We also should remember the Indian Ocean trade route, which played an important role in linking diverse civilizations together through the exchange of goods and ideas. So as you can see, here's the Arabian Peninsula where Islam began, and this trade route connects the Arabian Peninsula with India, and we'll look also at its effects on Southeast Asia. India is an astonishingly diverse land, and it is quite difficult to rule. The caste system, which we will discuss in a little bit, creates a rigid, stable social structure that allows for an orderly society without the guidance and control from a centralized government. So much of India's history lacks strong empires, but there are some notable exceptions to discuss here. The Vijayanagara Empire in southern India, shown here on this map, is an example of the ongoing tension between the Hindu and Muslim faiths in South Asia. Turkish Muslims had invaded South Asia in the 13th century, and Vijayanagar was a Hindu kingdom on the borders of the Delhi Sultanate, a Muslim kingdom to the north. That would be up here. This Hindu outpost survived for 200 years until its conquest by Muslim kingdoms. Earlier, and farther to the north, the Rajput kingdoms established Hindu rule until their conquest by Muslim forces, and that is shown here on this map, in the red right here. See this chapter for evidence of conflict between Hindus and Muslims, particularly in the north. Finally, the Delhi Sultanate, shown here in green, brought Islamic rule to northern India. While this rule by sultans lasted for centuries, it struggled to maintain strong control due to the caste system and resentment against the jizya or tax on non-Muslims. You might remember from our previous chapter that Muslims generally did not tax what they called people of the book, or dhimmis, and those were Jews, Christians, and Muslims. But when Islam arrived in India, Hindus were not seen as people of the book because Hinduism is a polytheistic religion and does not worship the same God as Jews, Christians, and Muslims do. India's cultural history is a story of clashes between very different faiths. When Islam arrived by trade and conquest, a significant conflict emerged that still exists today. There were key differences between Hinduism and Islam as shown here. These faiths were so different that it was difficult for missionaries to encourage voluntary conversion. Exceptions were lower-class Hindus, who saw Islam's focus on equality as a chance to increase their social status. Generally, the arrival of Islam set up a conflict between the two faiths rather than a significant cultural conversion. So the differences shown in this chart would be good things for you to be aware of and to remember. Social structures in South Asia. First, we need to explain the caste system. In Hindu philosophy, one's life is part of an endless cycle of rebirth, with the ultimate goal being released from this cycle through spiritual purity and enlightenment. As you live your life, you generate karma based on your actions. If you have good karma from acting correctly, you will be reborn into a higher class, or caste. If you have negative karma, you are reborn into a lower caste. So this diagram on the right shows the castes. Generally, the higher you are on this pyramid, the closer you are to release from the cycle of rebirth. This cycle was so rigid because of its connection to religious beliefs. For many reasons, Muslim presence in South Asia did little to change social structures. In general, Muslims lived outside the caste system, or found a place within it based on their occupation, such as a merchant, as you can see on the diagram. So Islamic rule did not change this structure, since so few Hindus converted to Islam. Since Muslim and Hindu beliefs about gender relations were similar, the roles of women did not change much either. As we saw in an earlier chapter, when Islamic rule arrived in India, intellectual exchanges were common. The number system that we call Arabic numerals was actually developed in India. Europeans call these Arabic numerals because the system was introduced to Europe by Islamic scholars. The Qutub Minar is an example of architectural sharing. This temple complex combines elements of Hinduism and Islam, shown in the picture here. Finally, the Bhakti movement, which, while limited to Hinduism, shows the influence of Islamic culture. Its focus on one God rather than many, and personal relationships with that God, echoes Islamic thought that had been introduced to India centuries before. Now we turn our attention to Southeast Asia. As you see on the map, this region consists of modern-day Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and the island nations of Malaysia and Indonesia. So when we talk about Southeast Asia, we're looking at this region right here, and then down here, including Indonesia and the Philippines, modern day. And just so we're clear, when we get up here to Korea and Japan and China, we're usually talking about East Asia, and then the region of India and what is modern-day Pakistan is known as South Asia. This region played an important role in maritime trade, as it contained the quickest routes between the Indian Ocean and the riches of China. That would be from right down through here is the quickest route. Whoever controlled this route had great potential for power by taxing merchants who passed by. An early kingdom was Srivijaya, shown here on the map. And this is called the Malacca Strait, and that's that region I just pointed out. This was a Hindu kingdom that controlled the key Strait of Malacca. Later came the Buddhist kingdom of Majapahit, which was a similar key region. And that is down here, and the Strait of Malacca comes right through here. There were also major land empires, such as the Sinhala dynasties in modern-day Sri Lanka, which began as a haven for Buddhist monasteries until invasions weakened the state. And Sri Lanka is way down here. It's this island off the southeast coast of India. Over in modern-day Cambodia, the Khmer Empire was a marvel of temple complexes and irrigation systems, shown here. The ruins of this great civilization show the Hindu and Buddhist influence of its residents. As we have seen, Islam was often spread by merchant activity, and Southeast Asia was no exception. Maritime traders spread the faith to modern-day Indonesia, largely supplanting Hinduism and Buddhism by the 16th century. Similar to other regions, Sufi missionaries spread the faith in addition to traders. It helps to remember that the Sufi branch of Islam was individual and mystical, helping it to be more appealing to faiths like Hinduism and Buddhism, which were not focused on worshiping one God. So for our essential question, remember we had two effects we were looking for of these belief systems. One was the effects on society, and the next down here, the development of states. So effects on society. Hindu beliefs are going to reinforce the caste system, such as in the Rajput kingdoms. And remember, that's because your position on the social class in that system is dependent on the manner in which you worship the Hindu faith. Buddhist beliefs are going to challenge the caste system. The Buddha was a little bit against the caste system and believed that you didn't have to go through this cycle and work your way up the pyramid in order to achieve enlightenment. So his message was more appealing to lower caste. There were some Muslims who merged into the caste system based on their job. And another effect of the spread of Islam on society was those intellectual exchanges between Islamic and Indian scholars. Now to look at the development of states. Islamic beliefs created tension between Hindu subjects and Islamic rulers, such as in the Delhi Sultanate. And Islam's trade-friendly status helped to spread the faith to northern India and much of Southeast Asia, eventually leading to predominantly Islamic states, such as in modern-day Indonesia, by the end of our time period. That's your Chapter 1.3 overview. Happy studying!